Good morning. Good morning.
Good day.
Good day. Is that right? Good day. Good day. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here with you today. You know, since I was a pipsqueak in South Africa, sitting in my schoolroom with that big map, remember the ones that we had? With the countries in red, and we were taught that the sun never set on the British Empire. And we learned all about Australia and the outback and the merino sheep, especially the merino sheep. And I've ever since then really had a deep desire to visit Australia. So I'm exceedingly grateful and thankful, Nan, to you for giving me this opportunity to realize what is a dream. And I would just like to make a confession right at the beginning, and that is that I stand before you not in the least as a digital foodie or technical person, but as they said, the international coordinator of the Pass It On network. And I think I can talk to you on the subject because the Pass It On network would simply not exist if we had not had the internet. It's a total internet platform, and it's given me the best decade in my life. I've had such fun. And I would just like to tell you that story because it is relevant to our subject. Sorry, that was previous. That was in March this year where I made the connection with Nan, although not personally because she wasn't there. I went to Fukuoka in Japan to attend the Active Aging Consortium conference of the Asia Pacific area, and that's where I learned about Nan and learned about you. And I made contact with her, and hence my presence here today. So let's just have a quick look at what the Pass It On network is all about. We at the Pass It On network believe, I think like you, that we are living in real time the longevity revolution. You know, we're the real actors of what's happening to us, and this is a huge thing that's happening absolutely globally. And our societies are not tuned into what's happening yet. They're slowly, catching up. But a lot of it is really going to depend on the active part that we personally play. If we sit back and let people happen to us, well, then we've got ourselves to blame. Our mission, very quickly, is to empower maximum self-determination, to promote positive aging through education, advocacy, and to encourage people to identify, and this is what we think is so important, to identify our strengths. You know, we've lived all our lifetimes and we've accumulated a lot of skills. And then society tends to say, once you've retired, well, that's it, chap, jump off the cliff. Go into your corner and we don't want to hear from you. Well, this is now just not on because we are going to be representing 25 to 30% of the world's population. So it really is up to us to make the situation, to create it ourselves, or at least contribute very actively towards creating it. I'm going to very quickly just lead you through how I said earlier on that the last decade of my life has been the most exciting. When I was turning 60, so now you all know how old I am, I was very worried about financial security. What was I going to do? Because I had not been in France for sufficient time to contribute to the pension system, because I'm from South Africa, and I logged in later. So I went onto the net, and I found this site, and I really loved both the logo and the name. Too young to retire. I said, wow, that's for me. So being quite an impulsive person, I took my telephone and I phoned, and I got through to the founder, a man called Howard Stone. And Howard and his wife, Moira, had just decided exactly that. When they got kicked out because of the retirement age, they had no desire whatsoever to just stop living. So they created this, and they created it in 2002, which was well ahead of the trend now, because a lot of people have understood that this is where we're going. And they were running an internet course, very short 6-week course, 1 hour a week. And I joined that, and I had 12 people from around the world, and we became buddies, because that's where the Americans had, and my buddy was in Spain. And at the end of the course, he said, there's going to be the first ever positive aging conference in Florida, and I've managed to piggyback it. So please come as a too young to retire person, and we'll go on to the conference. So that's exactly what I did. I flew in from Paris to St. Petersburg in Florida, and went to an event that changed the course of my life. And they were it was just the most incredible feeling. Everybody was feeling like a pioneer. You know, we into this new thing, let's do this. And there were lots of professionals from all sorts of fields, coaching, life planning, financial planning, health, whatever you name it. And they were also keen to share their experiences and to share their tools and say, this is what I'm doing, you can have it, take it. And it was just wonderful. And I sat and listened to one speech. And the title of the speech was Meaningful Work, Paid or Unpaid, Through to the Last Breath. I just listened to that and I thought that was unbelievable. And it was pronounced by Dr. Jan Hively. I went up to Jan afterwards and I gave her my card, as one does at conferences of this nature. And I said, if ever you come to Paris, please look me up. I run an occupational health organization. We've got 20 doctors and we belong to a federation in the Paris area with 250 doctors, and we look after something like 2 million workers in the area. And I'll organize a conference for you. And she said, okay. And lo and behold, a year later, she pitched up in Paris. We did the conference, and since then we've been just friends, and we built our Pass It On network. And I'd just like to mention the Hopi Indian leader, because he's our inspiration. He wrote a poem when he was about 100, and it was all about change. And he told the people in this poem, which you can get on my stand tomorrow, that they should not be afraid of change. They should let go of the banks and go into the center and allow themselves to be carried. And the last line of his poem was, "We are the ones we have been waiting for." And that is what drives us. Nobody's going to do it for us. You know, I think one could also say God helps those who help themselves. But I mean, that is the driving spirit of our organization. So we went on. The year 2012 was the European Year of Active Aging, and three of us, Jan in Cape Cod, myself in Paris, and a woman called Pat Monroe, who's the leader of the World Cafe in Europe. We had regular meetings through the internet during a period of a year, and we came up with a project that was called the European Voices for Active Aging. And we got funding for that, and we ran 6 world cafes in 6 different capitals. And there we heard what we're saying here today. We want to remain connected, we want to remain relevant, and how we're going to do it. And from then on, we moved and we created the Pass It On network. We thought that would be the most useful thing. In other words, to scout out and to find and to put up on the net interesting ideas, interesting projects, and things that people are doing, simply to shape this new period of life. So today we launched November 3 years ago, and today we have representatives in 40 different countries around the world, from India to Moscow to South America to South Africa to Cameroon to all over Europe and all over the States, and nobody from Australia. So I sincerely hope we go home with somebody from Australia and perhaps even New Zealand. You can see how that will work. It'll be fun. The 3 basic factors, I think, in terms of this digital inclusion, I'm not going to go into them in depth at all, but the one is the infrastructure, then socio-psychological factors, and knowledge. We all know, I think, that have been through that experience where we thought we were computer literate. Around about 2000, I sort of, I'm okay. You know, Word, Excel, and all of that I can do. And I completely missed out the smartphone and tablet. You know, woke up one day and said, "Wake up, dum-dum. You know, you haven't done this right now." And I think that that is the essence of the message today, is that we've moved into an instant type of reaction, a spontaneous goodie, and you just have to keep up all the time. You know, so you can't just sit back and say, "I'm okay, I've done it, and I'm there." But this is a very interesting aspect. There is, of course, the International Telecommunications Union that's doing everything it possibly can to bring broadband and all other infrastructure around. And I was very interested to learn that the University of Western Australia is participating and contributing to a global effort to create a global, public, inclusive infrastructure for the internet. And they're working with the European Union and with all sorts of big companies and the United States of America. to make sure that the internet will always be accessible to anybody and everybody who has any kind of difficulty, whether it's disability or learning difficulty or whatever. So that was a very interesting thing to learn. Let me now just quickly do some of the examples that we picked up from around the world. This is in the United States. 4 people very delighted with the work that they're doing with an organization called OATS, which is the Older Adults Technology Services Company. And they've been running courses now for something like 25 years. And OATS has now started in Manhattan. They've opened this huge showroom. And the showroom is where people can come off from the street and experiment with different kinds of devices, because the devices, as we saw, just becoming more and more numerous, and there'd be technological people there to help them decide. When I was at the Positive Aging Conference in Washington in August, we spoke to the director of the OATS organization, and he told us that he thought that the American federal government was just on the brink of announcing a huge project. They already have created 3,000 computer laboratories around the country, and apparently they're going to up this exponentially now, because everybody, everywhere throughout the world understands that this is like electricity. Everybody's got to have it and got to have access. What they do and how they use it after that is another issue, but the whole thing has to be brought to them. Then we come to the Avenidas Senior Center, which is in California, and Richard Adler, who is one of our advisors, gave us this information. They've been running courses with volunteers for a number of years, 20, 25 years as well, but they've now very recently created what they call the Generations Lab, which they launched at their tech fair in January. And the Generations Lab is to be a go-between between the senior users and people who are trying to make products for them. Because there's no point in creating products that aren't needed or used or don't respond to what the requirements are. So it's a testing ground, and that is a very interesting development from there. Then we move on to a very interesting project between Google Fiber and the non-profit technology network. They've gone about and they've formed digital inclusion fellows who they've trained so that they can then go out and train other trainers and train people. And they reckon in a period of just 6 months that they have reached 1 million people in terms of raising awareness. And they've trained 260 people and they've, as trainers, and then they've had 5,000 people go through their labs. So they're on the verge now of rolling that out in 22 different cities. It's really quite amazing. Then we're going to leave America, hop on an airplane and stop off in Iceland. The man on the right-hand side is our country liaison in Iceland, who's also the founder in Iceland of the Third Age University. His name is Hans Christian Gudmundsson, and he's standing next to Mr. Young, who is the president of one of China's 60,000 senior universities. Did you know that? I was just absolutely staggered when I learned that. 60,000 senior universities. And these universities all have ICT as part of their curriculum. And the 2 of them were together because they were in Osaka in Japan in October for a Third Age University Conference of Asia Pacific. But isn't that staggering? 60,000. Just amazing. And now we just move into France, where there's an organization called Old Up. And Old Up says we're not so young, but we're not so old. They were created in about 9 years ago by people of 75, 76 years of age, who are now 83, 84, etc. And the digital way was in one of their basics. So right from the beginning, they've been organizing digital courses. And they also do in-situ training, where they take their members onto the railway station and show them how to buy the tickets and take them into the post offices, because that also requires now totally digital handling. And then they've got another aspect, which I think is just super. because people are now moving on, they are not always able to attend the meetings. So they're now, with their major meetings like the annual general meeting, they're now having it filmed and putting it up on YouTube and on the Skype, so that people who are not able to attend can at least attend. Then we'll hop off to Poland. And Poland, it's a very, very interesting situation, because in Poland, apparently more than 90% of the companies are internet companies. But they do far, far less business on the internet than any of their peers in the European Union. And apparently of the 38 million population, only 10 million have never touched a computer in their lives. So the government says, you know, we've got to put this in adequation, because it's not a good idea to have the internet available and people not there using it. So one of the projects is a project to train seniors. And they went into the whole situation and decided that why seniors weren't really going onto the internet. There were several reasons. One was a lack of motivation. The other one was that they just didn't see what it could give them, what benefits they could get out of it. The other one was the cost of the equipment, of course, and the other one was straightforward fear of the computer technology. So they set out and they did some more research, and they discovered that the people that they were addressing, that audience, was an audience that would respond to local situations. You know, they'd go to the local community centre, or they'd go to the local, apparently the fire stations have local meeting halls there. They would go to meetings there, but they wouldn't want to go to anything more important or more technical. And they discovered also that they had to give very short classes and a lot of repetition. And in order to do that, they launched a project which was internet equality for everybody. And in this, they decided to find and to train what they called, and I think it's such a lovely name, lighthouse keepers. And the lighthouse keepers are the people that are admired in their own communities and quite comfortable with, you know, talking to people. And then they go into the local fire station, the local senior centre, and they run these classes as trusted local people. I thought that was really rather a nice approach, and not unsimilar, in fact, to the American one with the digital fellows. Then in Singapore, just very quickly, the Singaporean government has done so much in terms of digital inclusion. They've upped their implantation of hotspots in the senior centres, and their latest innovation is to organise boot camps, internet boot camps. And as you can see, they match up a junior with a senior. And apparently everybody has a whale of a time, and a lot of learning is done. So maybe that's a good idea. Okay. And here we're going to just look at Japan very quickly. Japan is, as you all know, the oldest country in the whole world, and is really confronted with huge, huge challenges to get everything right, and to face up to what the aging population actually means. It's just quite incredible. They're already over 25 million, 27% of the population is the aging population. And the government takes this more than seriously, and they have a task force which goes through all these different aspects, and it's a special task force for the senior population, and it covers, I'm not going to go through them all, but it covers e-government, the disaster prevention, smart homes, lifelong education, and of course everything to do with ICT. And their whole aspect is that, as I said earlier, that the internet is like electricity, and we're going to have to use it for absolutely everything, and everybody needs to be brought online. And they play a great deal of accent on the whole democratic aspect. If you're on the internet, then you can make your voice heard, and you can be heard, and move on there. And then we get to Mongolia, and in Mongolia, apparently, only 10% of the population is apparently exposed to the internet. So they have a huge task ahead, and the aging population has never been exposed at all. So at the beginning of this year, around about April, I think it's called the Liberal Senior Movement in Mongolia got together with the Lifelong Learning Centre, and they've established now a curriculum. and they've started training people. And up until now, from April until now, they've trained 155 people. And there's the graduation class for the last one, and they're all very happy and proud with what they have achieved. And just a title, just as total contrast, a word about South Africa, my home country. Of course, the accent in a country like South Africa is not at all on the seniors. You know, it's the juniors that need to be brought in, and in South Africa, although there is like up to 50% coverage for internet, there are only 7% of the population that have direct access from their homes. So this is a big handicap, and I think it's totally understandable that the government's putting all their accent and meaning on bringing the youngsters into this market. And one of the things they're experimenting with is to have mobile training trucks fitted out with satellites that go around and train people and get them in. And then just, I don't even know if I was telling you this because you already know it, it has been scientifically proved that seniors love the internet, and that it does us all an awful lot of good, and it opens up the world to us, and the world does become our oyster. And this has now been totally scientifically proved, and especially important in terms of isolation. So, I would like to just now mention, I was just going to show you a slide from Slovenia, where our local part of our network person is Dr. Anna Krank, and she's a specialist in adult education. And she created in 1983 the first third-age university in the country. And they've been concentrating on digital inclusion ever since. But one of their latest campaigns has got such a beautiful slogan that we really like it and would love to see it go around more and more. And this is, each one, teach one. And if each one taught one, you know, we would really go very far. And just in a general sense, if each one of us could just be aware of someone else and make a difference in someone else's life, I think that would also go an awful long way to helping along this revolution in a positive sense, the most positive sense for ourselves, our families, and for our communities. And then I would just like to end with